Welcome to this Pádel. We've been lately talking a lot about the Pro Padel League, and today we have the visioner, the commissioner, and the person that started since the beginning. And also, he has many things to tell us because he's, to me, the person that evangelized with Padel. So what we're enjoying right now in the US is your fault. No, it's your merit because this is
Kind
like a
of.
drag. So welcome, Marcos del Pilar,
Thank
Spanish
you.
like I am,
Yeah.
and I'm very happy to have you here.
No, thank you for having me. True pleasure and congrats, because, this new approach that you are bringing to the table, with this business and paddle concept, this paddle, which is the project that you are leading. I think it is we were talking about it, it's very evergreen, it's something that can, stay for a long time. And also it's a new approach that I think is needed. It's not only what is happening on the court, which is always important, but in addition to that, getting that approach, on the business model, how to make the
Yeah. That's
the
my Silicon Valley background.
exactly. That's your background. So
Yeah.
thank you for having me,
No,
Rosa.
the opposite is like you were talking about lean startup and
Of course.
like right before we started, and I was like, I think we have kind of a similar mindset or background somehow. So
Yeah, of course.
no, but here we are here to congratulate you for all that we've been living, not just last year, but also this year with the league. This I think has been, I would say, unexpected but amazing in the way that you've put together an amazing group of players, like top level, but also the teams, the cohesion, the atmosphere. We are when we are recording, we are just 3 days. Like today's Friday, the second leg is gonna finish on Sunday.
Yeah.
So, how has this been? Are you sleeping enough? Or
Well, yeah, I'm sleeping enough, but I'm so passionate, about what we are doing and putting together that, for me is kind of a dream. I last year I was telling everybody like, hey, this is a proof that dreams come to a reality when you are committed, when you love what you do, when you are, like the guy that is getting things until the finish line and so on. And this year, we wanted to elevate the product, get into a different stage, for the sport in North America and also for the Pro Padel League. So I'm happy. It's exhausting, I would say, of course, but
it is.
I have energy enough, and I usually say that I love the sport as much as the very first day, like 25 years ago. So I'm plenty of energy. Vamos, vamos,
Yes,
vamos.
that's what I would like to ask you about. Bamos has become like the theme or like the hashtag for the league. I like it because it refers also to Rafa Nadal.
Yeah.
And okay, this is paddle, that's tennis. We are like twin brothers somehow, or well, now we are the rebel brother that is growing on its own way and left home. But what does Vamos mean to you?
We got an incredible piece that my marketing team put together, and they are saying that vamos is not a word. Vamos is a feeling, it's a way of living, is means a lot. And that is coming from the very beginning when I was, pitching the idea and getting all my original team together and so on. Every day I was saying, vamos, 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 and then getting people excited, and encouraging them to keep growing and to put together, the something that in my mind was meant to be, a game changer in the entire world of sports. So I needed to get people like inspired, and I was saying vamos every day, right? So at the end of the day, it became part of the claim of the league, and
Yeah.
after thinking about it, we thought like, hey, you know what? That is also bringing that Spanish heritage from the sport. So this is kind of my personal legacy. So we are bringing paddle to the United States and North America and beyond, but at the same time we are respecting the origins, right? And I'm from Spain. I'm very proud to be a Spanish,
Yeah.
and we wanted to keep it, and Vamos is something that everybody understands
Yeah.
because of Rafa Nadal and now Marcos too, right? So everybody
It
in
is.
America is saying "vamos," and
Yes.
I'm super proud because everywhere I go now, and you know that I travel a lot. Everywhere I go, everybody's telling me like "Marcos, Marcos,
Vamos.
vamos,
Yeah,
vamos,
but the thing
vamos."
is, it's not just the word, but it's also like
Yeah,
the
exactly.
gesture.
It's not "vamos," it's "vamos."
Vamos.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think you need to do like some kind of video, the final day, like everybody vamos or something like that,
Exactly.
because it's super exciting. So let's go back a little bit. Who is Marcos del Pilar? To understand why this guy is doing this.
Well, I usually introduce myself, as a very ordinary guy. I really think that I'm a very ordinary guy, with big dreams that's true. With a lot of determination, a lot of commitment, a lot of love for what I do, and with the vision and the dream to make a better world through paddle. This usually sounds very romantic, but this is the way that I see life, right?
Yeah.
So I think we need to make something better for people and try to change people's lives, and that is kind
Mhm.
of my goal, right? Obviously, because of my tennis and paddle background, I've been immersed in the industry for the
Mhm.
last almost 30 years. Well, I'm too old. I'm realizing now by me saying this now, it's like, oh gosh, I'm too old. But I've always been involved in the racket industry, first on tennis. I used to be a tennis player, then a tennis coach. I owned, different locations in Spain with tennis
Mhm.
first at the beginning. And one day, I discovered Padel. I was a little bit hesitant, on Padel, to be honest with you, but it was like 20 plus years ago. And then when I discovered, the business model behind that, and the cross-selling strategies and things that we could do to improve the industry and to make more
Yeah.
money. At the end of the day, we are talking about
It's business.
business today. So I discovered, a very good way to make money and to make, business more profitable by
Mhm.
using these cross-selling strategies and trying to bring, more players to the industry, which is kind of my goal.
Yeah.
And then when I discovered that, I said like, wow, this is something amazing that needed, to be spread,
Yeah.
all over the world. And I spent, a couple of years in Europe, visiting
Mhm.
different countries and promoting it and growing the sport and so on. But I always had the dream, like, I want to bring this to the US. I think it's going to be massive. I have energy enough. I have love for the sport enough to do that. And people were calling me crazy at that time.
Mhm.
Some of them are still calling me crazy here. Now it's
Yeah.
changing, like for the
Yeah.
last 7 years
Yeah.
that I'm in the US. At the very beginning, people were saying like, "Oh, this crazy guy, from
Yeah.
Spain that is promoting paddle, blah blah blah," and now all of them are calling me back saying, "Marcos, you were so right. Everything that you told me like 7 years ago now is happening on the same path that you explained."
And
And
maybe faster
well, not
somehow.
fast.
But
Faster is now.
yeah.
Like the last year and a half or the last 2 years,
Yeah.
everything was accelerating big time. But I remember myself like 7 years ago when I first came to the US. I mean, it's
Yeah.
been a long journey. I don't wanna. I'm happy.
Yeah.
It's been a long journey though.
Yeah, no, it's the
So
typical thing in Spain. El flipado este, ¿dónde va? Mira,
exactly.
hay que empezar. Yeah,
And
need to start
lucky,
somehow.
a
Yeah,
lot of people say, "Oh, how lucky!"
yeah,
Lucky. I said the
yeah.
only lack that you have, is working every day.
So many nights not
Exactly.
sleeping in work.
24/7, 365 days per day, per year,
Yeah,
working every day, putting a lot of commitment, getting I would say that commitment that people know that you are going to be the one that is getting things done,
yeah.
and then you get that reputation, people respect you, the industry respect you, aspiring to excellence every day. So
It's easy.
it's not easy. It's not easy, but here we are.
Yeah,
So
that's
here
it.
we are. This is
Vamos.
amazing, right?
Yeah.
Vamos, vamos, vamos.
So I wanted to ask you many more things, but one of them is you started the league. Last year was already like a success. And this year there were new teams, okay. But as soon the day was approaching, we started to see more names and more names and more names. How was that? How did you feel about that when you were like, whoa, 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 what's going on here?
Let's say that I design a plan
Mhm.
on my mind. I design a plan about what I really wanted the league to become and so on. And I was never expecting to get these kind of names, to be honest with you, on
Wow.
on year two, on 2024.
Mhm.
In my plans, we were supposed to be receiving, some of the best players in the world in 2025, but something happens. I think that probably the fact that the players believe in the model, they believe in the format, they believe in the mission. I think because part of the things that I'm, when I'm giving my conference and so on, and explaining people, how to jump into the paddle world, something that I usually talk about is how to um, sell the big why. You
Yeah.
gotta express what your purpose is, what is your belief, what is the main reason that you
Yeah.
are getting up, every single morning, and what is
Yeah.
the vision that you have, right? So I think that players understood, what is the mission that I have for the Pro Padel League and the team, are putting together. And first of all, getting that alignment,
Yeah.
with with a vision. And at the end of the day, we are opening the upcoming largest market in the world, and they understand that, right? So obviously, we need the moves, and I gotta give the credit to all the owners for sure,
Hmm.
for making the effort, believing in the league, and also, for putting, the means for attracting these players, because the league is putting $1 million in prize money. But in addition to that, the players,
Yeah.
obviously are getting paid, and they are our main priority, our biggest asset, and I think they feel that, when
Yeah.
they realize, like, hey, there's a group of people in here with the paddle background, which I think it is an incredible asset
Hmm.
as well, because all of them know where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
I'm a paddle person, that for the last 25 years I've been involved in the business as well, but I used to be a player too. So I
So
perfectly understand, where their interests are. So
yeah, you think about them, you think about their needs, but
100%.
also about their careers and how it's
Exactly.
important. Because in Spain, everybody is always, and in Latin America, not like everywhere, thinking about the US, how to conquer this market. Now they have the opportunity.
100%.
Like
Yeah.
they see the NFL, the NBA, like there's the baseball league is something we don't follow, but people in Latin America, especially in Central America and Caribbean America, follow. So this is the same system, right? It works with franchises. How is the system?
Well, I usually explain this, as one of the incredible business cases,
Hmm.
on lateral marketing, right? For me, the Pro Padel League was a dream, but it's an incredible example of lateral marketing. Like two things that are working well by separate, but nobody thought about putting them together. And since disruption, innovation, creativity, and
Hmm.
and these kind of things are part of my DNA, is I thought, like, hey, I think there's a huge niche in here. The franchise model system is something that has been proven to be very successful in other major leagues in the world.
Hmm.
And then I was experiencing and I was working so hard for the growth of Padel in North America. So I said, hey, if this is finally happening and I know that I'm committed enough to make this happen, why don't we try something different, with this lateral marketing exercise, and then putting everything together, creating a league that is also going to be the catalyst of the growth of the sport in North America and beyond. So the main goal was building a new ecosystem
Hmm.
where we are creating a win and win situation for everybody. Like creating spaces for brands, for sponsors, for broadcasters,
Yeah,
for
makes
for
sense.
television and so on, but also providing, a new entire space for players, coaches, and everybody involved in the industry to develop themselves and to make more money and to be more
Yeah.
successful. So in my mind, it was crystal clear. But believe it or not, and not a lot of people know
Hmm.
about this, believe it or not, I created this like 7 or 8 years ago. So I
Okay.
already pitched this idea in Spain
Wow.
7 years ago or 8 years ago, and nobody was listening to me. So they said,
Yeah, they
like,
didn't get the idea of the teams and all that.
exactly.
Yeah.
They were telling me, and in fact, the way that I approach that
Hmm.
in Spain, it was probably even better than what we are
Like
doing
Real
it here.
Madrid, Barcelona, or something like that. Or
Exactly. So
makes sense.
I was in my mind, it was even better, but nobody understood that. Probably the wrong timing. The
Hmm.
energy was there, the knowledge was there.
Yeah.
My background, in
Sports
startups,
business. Yeah.
and marketing and so on was the same, but the
But
timing probably was not, or the timing or the place was not right. And in
yeah.
here, when I started to pitch, like to different venture capitals and investment groups and so on, what
You're like,
happened? Well, people wouldn't let me finish. They were telling me, like, yeah, 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 Marcos, I got it, I got it, I got it. Yeah,
yeah.
I probably know better than you. And I said, well, yeah, of course,
Mm.
you know better because you guys are Americans and you know
Yeah.
how to.
How to do things. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. To me, one of the differences in the US is that they have a method for everything. There's a way to do things, and that somehow paves the way to make things happen.
Agree.
And they are always open to test things. So if you fail, it's okay. You learn. But what's next? What's next? So there's no drama about if it doesn't work. Okay, maybe you can do instead of the Pro Padel League, the whatever league, and it's okay. Nothing
Exactly.
happens. So that also give you a big amount of freedom to test things,
100%.
and that's not usually in your mindset. And to me, has been life changing in many ways. Like you
100%.
already have the no, and go for it. In this case, you had the yes. So this is also interesting and takes me to when I think about franchise owners, most of them are people that are catalyzers of paddle here. And I mean, for this, most of them have either a club or a group club or the goal to create something. So they're going to different parts of the pyramid. Like having the
Agree.
team is the top, but also they are putting courts, or they're creating a group, or they are like having schools like 10 by 20, for example, Daria and Luis Carrero.
Yeah.
Okay, they are building the clubs. They have an agreement with Padel Gallis here to do the courts, but also they have an agreement with M3 for the school, the academy. So they're building their own ecosystem, and having the franchise is part of their brand, and it's
Exactly.
important. And
Exactly.
they have like a personality, or a celebrity as part of that, and the name, the Florida God. So that's, to me, is the one that is bold right now, that have the full ecosystem. But we also have LA with Chris, who is
Chris.
like a business center,
This is
who is doing
amazing
something
too.
similar.
Yeah.
And I think it's not just the league. The league is like the top of the iceberg, is what we see, the tip of the iceberg, what we see.
Yeah.
But there's a lot there. And it's something that sometimes I think like the audience or people out of the US don't realize of the impact of the Pro Padel League in that way. Like every team is an ecosystem itself.
Agree, and that was part of the original plan. Like by putting together this, we were one. We were creating the new ecosystem. To develop the new generation of superstars in North America and beyond. But we were also feeding the need, for investors, to absorb the demand that we were creating. So everything was part of the plan, the 360 plan that I developed. And I wanted to leave, and I still want to leave a legacy,
Yeah.
for the sport. But I think we are bringing a lot to the table, and making a big change because of that.
Yeah.
Because when I still remember the first conversation that I had with DY, and he was, Daddy Yankee. I call him DY, but anyway,
It's pro, right?
yeah. So I still remember that
Yeah.
conversation, and he believed in the vision. When I told him, about my big why, I want to leave a legacy. I want to change people's lives. I think there's a room in here for changing the rules of sports all over the world, and also to impacting a lot of people's lives. He got a line from day one, and he told me, Marcos, this is exactly what I did for Recton. I would love to join, because I have the same mission in life and so on. So, and then Luis obviously bringing this to the table, with the entire group. And we have a little bit of everything. We have, some ownership group that are more connected with the development of the industry, and some others that are simply visionaries, right?
Yeah.
Like they think like, hey, Marcos, I know where you're coming from. I know where you're going. I think this is the right step, and we'll be becoming successful together because of what is happening. I obviously follow a lot of tracks, and steps that other leagues are doing, because I need to get inspired. Nobody else built, a paddle league based on teams, and they're a franchise model. So I need to keep learning along the way, because I'm not, I'm
Yeah, you like to have different inputs.
exactly. But when I look at the metrics and what the valuation of the teams in any other major leagues and so on, I really think that this is a totally game changer. And let's say that you look at the moon and probably you get some stars. I'm very humble as well, but let's say that I have big aspirations, for the league, and I think there's the way to go. Because along the way, even if we are not becoming a $1 billion league or a $1 billion company or whatever, along the way, we are achieving a lot of goals. So we are creating that demand. We're incentivizing, like participation, providing exposure to the sport. So let's say that, but just the fact of putting together, this content on television, 85 million households in the US this year, in addition to what we did last year. But this year is 85 million households in the US and 110 million households outside the US. So just the fact that we are providing that exposure, increasing participation, creating the demand, and feeding the need, for some others, venture capitals and investment groups that I work with, to land their investments in the US, I think we are making it no matter what. So hopefully the league will keep growing, and will become, a league reference, as DY was saying, my inaugural remark. He was saying to the world, hey, we are building the Pro Padel League as one of the major leagues in America and in the world. So hopefully we'll get there, one day. But if not, I now, feel very, very proud of the legacy that we are doing. And obviously
the name is not just USA, it's Pro Padel League. So it could be anywhere.
Yeah, why not?
Like the World Series in baseball, right? Like,
of course.
Okay, it's US, but it's also the Caribbean. I think it's
of
game
course.
changing. I wish we had more people like Daddy Yankee, right? Like we need more somehow
celebrities
celebrities
and
that are a magnet, that they are really committed, not just putting their faces. You know what I mean? Like
agree.
that because he likes to play. I've seen
He
him
loves.
playing with you and all
Yeah,
that.
we're
Yeah.
playing 2 hours per day. Yeah, but let's say that part of my mission now,
Hmm.
is being selective, on
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
recruiting,
Yeah.
the kind of owners that I want, for this project,
Yeah.
right? Because we are receiving calls, like
Mm.
investment groups, a lot of people interested in, hey, I want to join the league, I want to become an owner, I want to partner with you on the league side and so on. But what I'm looking for is those that first of all are passionate as much as I am,
Hmm.
that they have the
Yeah.
dream, of making paddle massive in the
Hmm.
US and beyond, and also that they can bring, kind
Yeah.
of a strategy,
Yeah.
a strategic partnership somehow that they can give us access,
Yeah.
to a bigger exposure, bigger audiences.
Yeah.
This is the what we usually call in marketing, that like BOPA, which is borrowing other people audiences,
Yeah.
right? Like, hey, we need to increase the
Yeah.
reach somehow.
Yeah. Multiply effect. That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then being able to scale, faster because of that. So I'm now, paying a lot of attention on the groups that we are bringing in,
Yeah.
because of that. We need, high quality owners, of course, but people with the same resonation for the sport, the same
Yeah.
goals,
To see
and
what they're bringing to the table, like it's more money, not just the money, but what are you doing?
e-
What do you bring? Not just the money. Money is okay, but on top of that,
exactly.
what are your like your network, what people you are bringing with you, your vision to help you go faster and farther, right?
100%. And DY, in
Yeah.
this case, is one of the best examples of that.
He's
So
bringing people every day, different people with him.
he's bringing, a lot of celebrities. We've been receiving, a lot of friends of them, a lot of friends of mine too, like people with smart money, as you said, and potential strategic investors. But you know, that is the kind of guy that after watching a couple of matches in there, he's telling me, hey Marcos, let's go play for a couple of hours. And I said, bro, you really want to do it? Yeah, I'm so passionate and I can feel that passion. So that is
Yeah.
kind of feeding me back. I'm
Yeah.
giving a lot, that, like, I'm a
Yeah.
giver, but at the same time I'm also
Pays back.
receiving.
Yeah,
Exactly.
somehow.
It's like, wow, man, I'm creating an impact because this guy, is completely addicted, as well as I am, right?
Yeah. So going back to the franchises, how much they cost, or approximately? I don't mean like this is it, but I think just in a year is a good investment, right? Like, how do you evaluate that?
Well, I would say that I don't want to talk
No,
numbers,
no, not
because
specifically, but at
yeah,
least a multiplier. Or
yeah, I would say that some of them, the ones that came at the beginning, in terms of valuation, they are making probably like around 10x already in 1 year, which is an incredible investment. And the goals and the forecast that we are working on is obviously, making even better. In terms of pricing, I don't feel comfortable talking about it because it all depends on the timing. It all depends, on the market and so on. But what
and they
I
are not selling either, so you can put any. I think no one is gonna sell. Like they don't feel it's time to sell. Like pricing right now is.
It's totally up to them. But
Yes.
I have long-term commitment and
Yeah.
long-term vision for the league. So in my case, I'm gonna stay because this is kind of my
It's your
dream. This
baby.
is exactly, and this is also my mission in life. I'm telling everyone that my mission is like in life. Is growing the sport in North America, and this is a great vehicle.
Yeah.
In addition to other things that we're doing, of course. This is Pro Padel League is something that is big, that is getting an incredible response. But we are also doing a lot of things, to impact the world and to keep growing paddle as well.
No,
So
we need to like I need to go to Orlando for the Pádel
come,
NBA and all that. I need to. I
come,
was close
please,
to go, and
come,
then I went to
come.
Spain, but that's on my bucket list. So for sure, we're gonna talk about that all the day. But I want to talk about something related to this. I think things are going so fast that it looks like this is not like finished. It's not a finished product. This is like ongoing.
Of course.
For example,
Yeah.
I wanted to buy jerseys and I couldn't. And you tell me, no, go to the website. I went, it's like, no, it's not there. But it's good in the way that people are willing to buy things to have that.
100%.
And they didn't have the time because they were like putting together the teams, the coaches, the coaches. So from the outside, it looks more mature. That is it right now. That is your policy. Like every day, there are new things. Things are like in these 10 days, I've seen a lot of improvement. Of course, there's room for more improvement for sure. But I think they're going to build more business on top of what's right now the league, right?
There are, a bunch of different revenue streams, that
Mhm.
will be impacting the teams, that will be impacting also the league for sure. But this is kind of a work in progress. The way that
Mm-hmm.
I see that, at the end of the day, I mean, nobody, we are the proud, first movers,
Yeah.
in this concept. Nobody else created a paddle league in the world under a franchise model,
Yeah.
even less, on teams format. So we were the first one, and we are learning along the way. Putting a league together is not easy. Now I can tell you about my own experience. It's not easy. It's a lot of work behind that. It's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of learning process. Good for me that I have this kind of beginner's mentality every day. That
Yeah.
I'm very open to keep learning, because I know I'm a beginner in most of the things that I do. Some of them are becoming more successful, but I feel like a beginner, and I'm enjoying the journey.
Yeah.
I enjoy, learning. That's why I usually tell this story, when I give my conferences, that people asking me, like, I finished two MBAs
Mm-hmm.
already, my university thing and so on. But I'm now working on two different things. One is connected with artificial intelligence, and I'm finishing my third MBA. And the reason that I'm mentioning this is not because I'm the smartest guy in the world. Is just the opposite. It's like, hey, people are asking me, why the hell, you doing, people don't have, not even one
Mm.
MBA. You finished two, and now you're doing a third one. Why the hell you do that? I said,
Because
well,
you're curious.
exactly, because I want to keep learning. I don't think I know everything. I want to keep learning, and this is part of the lesson that we need to provide. Being open enough to keep learning. Sitting with people that they are doing
Yeah.
different things, and improve yourself. And every single thing that I'm taking, from different markets and different industry, I'm trying to apply those for the benefit of paddle in this
Yeah.
case, or the racket industry in general, right? So having that mentality is opening a lot of doors to you, and not everybody is that way.
Yeah.
And
But that works here.
I'm
In
happy
the
enough
US,
to,
that works.
of course, and I don't have that ego. I'm humble enough to say, like, yeah, I have a lot of things to learn. So this case, a Pro Padel League is the case of that. Like, we are, learning along the way. I'm happy to learn along the way. I'm enjoying the journey, of learning along the way, and I feel very proud to do
Yeah,
so.
you're launching a rocket while you're still putting the pieces together. Right?
Yeah,
That's a startup journey.
and that is, in my opinion, this, we were talking about it, the lean startup
Yeah,
strategy. Like, hey, when you have that mentality and you have the ability to pivot, fast, because at the end of the day, we're kind of
yeah,
and a startup, is great, because I mean, we are very lean, we are very light, we have the ability to pivot, and something that I usually say is, like, we all need to become more customer centric.
hmm,
In the racket industry is a must, but in everything in general, right? So having the ability to listen to your audience, like, understanding what your targets are, what are they looking for, even your players and everybody involved, and having the ability to pivot, in that direction, is the way to success, right?
yeah.
Because they are
It's
telling you the pathway, and you just
it's
simply
different.
follow the
Yes.
pathway.
So I have one quick question: Is are we gonna see more franchises? Not this season because it's already like
Done? Yeah,
could be strange, but I feel that you have a lot of not you. You are receiving a lot of interest.
a lot. Yeah. So now we are receiving, as you said, a lot of interest. Not now. So I've been pitching, for this project to a lot of people. At the beginning, some of them were believers, and I need to thank, those that from day one were backing me up on this project. But now some of the groups that I was pitching before, they are coming back saying, hey, man, I never thought that you guys were becoming what you guys are becoming. So we want to be part of that. We are receiving interest from very, very important groups in the world. I cannot disclose anything,
No,
as
it's
you can
okay.
imagine, because I'm under an NDA. But yeah, I think my goal is to get somewhere in between 4 to 6 new franchises for 2025. Let's see what we can get, because once again, we are becoming very selective as well. So we need to bring the right people. It's not only people with the money enough, and I'm looking for something else, right? But my plans and our plans, within the team are, like, getting somewhere in between 4 to 6, and then potentially working in two different conferences, making the league more established. And
That makes sense. So
what an amazing journey,
no, no,
right?
no,
It's
it's
like
crazy. Like
unbelievable.
I never thought I could see sharing the same side of the court, the two number ones, male and female, like
That
Tapia and Ari playing on with the same t-shirt and the same like that's something that just the Pro Padel League has right now.
exactly.
So how do you feel about that when you saw that? Like wow.
I feel amazing. As I said, disruption and creativity and innovation are part of my DNA. And, I love doing things that are outside of the box, whether they are successful or not, you are learning, right? So when I first came with the idea of playing a mixed double, some people were telling me like, "Oh, Marcos, nobody else did. This is risky." That's it. That's why I love it, because I want to do something different, and that is part of the identity and the personality, and the big why again, from the Pro
Hmm.
Padel League. The fact that we put together, number one men in the
Yeah.
world, Agustin Tapia, number one women in the world, Ari Sanchez, on the same court, I was feeling like, oh my God, we are
Yeah.
making history, and we are making history together. That was insane.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think we once again we're changing the rules of sports,
Mm.
not only in paddle but also in there are, I think we all need to make an exercise, on how to attract more customers, more people, more fans. And for doing so, you got to do something. It's one saying, hey, if you want to get different results, you got to do something different, right? You got to put yourself in a different situation. You cannot
Hmm.
get different outcomes if you are always doing the same thing, right? So this is one of the cases. And if at the end of the day we try something that is not working, once again,
Next.
exactly, we are lean enough, we're light enough to say like, hey, you know what, let's pivot in a different direction and let's try, a different thing. But there are two things that made me very emotional
Hmm.
the last past week. One is I remember myself, on day one, I was there 7 a.m. or something. Nobody was there. The players were, kind of coming, for the first match, and I was sitting on the court, on the central court, alone, looking at everything, watching some players, Tapia and Ari and some others coming, and I thought like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
what a big achievement. We are making this happen in the US. And I was proud. I was, almost crying, alone, thinking like, oh my God, we are getting there. Like we are
Yeah.
bringing paddle to the United States. This is becoming massive.
Yeah.
All these people will be having the opportunity to experience the best players in the world, and we are doing that. So,
No, it's
and the second
really
one
great.
was what you just mentioned, having, these two guys, top one men and women, on the same court. I was feeling like, oh, we did it. We did it
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's very
Like
cool.
it's something that next week until the next leg is coming, right? Like mid August, something to like show to the world to use for like social media, PR, and that because I think it's a milestone and
100%.
because there's so many also like I would say challenges in female sports, and here since the beginning is a very organic and natural thing in paddle. I think it's an advantage we have talking about diversity and equality and all that. That it makes a difference also, like makes paddle very special in that way.
I think that, thank you for mentioning that, Rosa. There's, a very big education component on the league as well. So part of the legacy that we wanted to leave is like we needed to provide that awareness and exposure to the sport. We really needed to educate a continent, or let's say Canada, at least Canada and the US, a little bit of Mexico,
Mhm.
but we needed to educate, like 330 million people on what paddle is about, and telling them the story, right? So putting that on television, as I said before, in over 85 million households in the US is a big component, but we also need, to educate them. We need to tell them the story, what paddle is about. And part of the story, at least in my mind, is like, hey, this is one of the only sports that the population, is more or less 50%.
Yeah.
So it's 45, close
Yeah.
to 50% men and women. So I had the duty to tell the story the way that it is. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to get, like 330 million people
Yeah.
inspired to play paddle. So why not to use men and women at a time and putting them on the court together and getting some mixed double, female matches, main matches, and so on.
It's
So,
amazing. But what you're saying, like putting people into the course, I think is very important because right now, to me, there's a scarcity of
courts,
courts.
yeah.
And also, it's going to be um, coaches, which is something you're doing, like evangelizing. And this helps a lot to get people there. But my question here is paddle the new golf?
That's what I said in my last interview yesterday. So I said that paddle is the new golf.
They told me that in Mexico. And I'm like, yes, but super inclusive because everybody can play. So the barrier
100%.
is lower. You can do business on top of that. Everybody feels like welcome and the time is shorter. Like for business, you need to do a business event. I would do paddle.
Exactly.
You can put two levels. Those are interested, those just want to play. You can like, if I need to sponsor something, paddle tournament.
Exactly.
So
I usually say that is the
there's a
new
business
golf
opportunity.
or the Formula One of racket sports,
Yeah,
because we have, that environment that is putting together or bringing in, like-minded people, that they have the same vision, something that is very healthy as well, that is very aspirational, I would
yeah,
say, like the way that we are marketing, paddle in the US is making it accessible to everybody, but it's also a little bit aspirational, right? I think that the Pro Padel League wanted to be the Royal Leagues,
yeah.
of racket sports or the leagues in the world, and there's nothing bad on doing so,
No,
right?
no, it's
So
okay. Like from that, you can create different layers. And I think this also democratizes because there are opportunities. We saw that in Spain. At the beginning, it was like, oh, eso lo de los pibos, and now everybody plays. And we have public
exactly.
courts. So there are different levels. You can have your own club and high end, like Mass for Padel, what Richie is building now with La Vida Padel, like there are, or La Maso, just to name a few, or
Of
whatever
course,
we have in
of course.
Marbella, La Nueva Alcántara. So there are a lot of places that are great and top level, but there are also places that are like public and private use, and that what makes paddle so popular. And I think in the US, once they embrace it, it's gonna be crazy. Also, I wanted to give you a
100%.
compliment. And there's a person I would love to interview. Maybe not now,
Yeah,
but maybe
in the future,
next time or whatever. And I think is having Norma.
having Norma, yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
having Norma working for the Pro Padel League, because I think this Norma is a very special. It's that kind of people that are like a pillar, but it's also that build trust with the players.
100%.
That is the go-to person, has all the expertise. So it's like a production, but also a person you can trust. Like, and
100%.
I would like to interview her for that
We
because
can bring her.
she's
Sure.
unique.
Yeah.
But what's your role? How do you do like job description? Impossible.
It's a little
All
bit of
things,
everything. And
you
but that
know.
is very, I mean, Norma
But
and I,
having the idea of okay, I'm gonna get her.
well, that was, a must. I would say
So
that
who is Norma to start? Because maybe people don't know.
Norma is a big person, for us. Her and I, we had a very strong connection from the very first moment, I had a lot of background from players, talking to me about her, but we never met before. It was kind of love at first sight. We had the first discussion. I say, hey, I want to bring her in, no matter what. Let's say that part of, as I said before, part of the mission of the league is taking care of the players, because I totally understand that they are our biggest asset. I'm spending my time, with them, because I really need to understand them. I really need to make them happy, because they are the main reason of our success, right? And for that reason, we put like 4 people only in that department. The players on Pro Padel League, they have 4 people absolutely dedicated to them. Norma, is the Spanish and English speaking, for them, but we also have 3 more people, Danny and some others, and Sam, working on that side. So part of my priorities, what was like, hey, we need to make the player happy. So who is the best person, to take care of the players with an incredible background, with love for the players, and love coming from the players, because when you see Norma, relating to the players, you think like, oh, I mean, they are family. All of them are family, right? And then, part of my responsibility is that, is building the team that we think that can be, a game changer for the players. And Norma is amazing. Norma is amazing. I'm telling her today that if she can do that,
Yeah, let's
she's
see
becoming,
if she
and you
if
guys.
we have the time because she's so busy with the players
I
that
know,
I feel
but I
bad.
can give her, some
Like
free time and spare time to come here.
yeah,
So I'll be, helping her,
because she's
on that
super
side.
smart.
Absolutely.
Go to person. I've seen her solving things like Carolina Navarro needed a specific thing for her allergies. She made it happen. This person needed this, like
She knows
makes everybody
everything. Yeah.
happy and everything is smooth. And she lives in Mexico. She's out of Mexico and making things happen. And I think she has resources everywhere. So those key small details that look like small details make a difference and is a way to do business.
Of
Like
course, of course.
any investment in that is gonna like give you money back because it's something that makes people want to come. They know they're gonna be. That means that you look after them, you care when you put that people in the team.
Yeah, I usually say that people, I'm sorry, businesses are not made by companies,
Yeah.
but people, right? So that is one of the cases, like, hey, part of the things that we are bringing to the table, and part of the mission of the league is building those people, that are reflecting, the love that we have for the players and the love that we have for the sport. So that's one of the examples, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and once again, I encourage everybody to have a look. The way that they relate each other is
Yeah.
like, hey, it's mom and kid. Like
Yes.
having conversation. The love that they give each other
Yeah.
is like absolutely amazing.
It's amazing.
We
So
are very lucky
before
to have her.
letting you go, because I think it's starting and I'm taking a lot of time from you,
No worries.
what can we expect in the next leg? Right? Like next is gonna be on August.
Yep.
How are we going to keep like the audience waiting
Excited?
more? Yeah.
Well, let me explain real
What you
quick,
can tell. I know
Rosa.
you
Yeah,
cannot
yeah.
tell everything, so I don't want you to, like give an exclude. It's not that, but to understand like the chapter, right? Like the narrative. What's next?
So let me explain you real quick.
Okay.
The way that, because some people were asking me like, oh, why you guys are doing 2 weeks in a row and so on. So let's say that the Pro Padel League, is different stages,
Mm-hmm.
right? Different weeks, by separate, is kind of different championships happening every week.
Mm-hmm.
For these 2 weeks, it's happening, on the same location in Miami for obvious reasons. Miami is a hotspot and so on. But so the first week, we had a winner, which was Miami Paddle Club. Now this week we'll be playing semis and final, this upcoming weekend. And after that, every single week is going to be completely different, right? The plans are now, after finishing here in Miami, will be in August, potentially in LA or the West Coast. We are still making some decisions, but the plans are going to the West Coast because part of the mission, is bringing paddle to the masses, right? And then we'll be in LA with 2 more weeks, exactly the same. Like the format is what it is, like two different groups of
Mm-hmm.
5 teams. They are playing a round robin version, and the best two of each group are playing cross
Mm-hmm.
for semis and the final, and also the third and fourth place. So for after those 4 weeks, happening potentially Miami and LA, as we said, then we'll be playing the PPL Cup, which is the final week, where the best
Gonna be
eight,
crazy.
yeah, will be fighting for the title. The real deal will be happening in New York, and we'll have the
And
the
that will
champion
be like the
November.
All Stars.
No,
That's another thing. That's it. That's what I wanted to know. So that would be like the Masters
the PPL
equivalent,
Cup.
like PPL Cup.
Yeah, PPL
Okay.
Cup happening in November in New York. Once again, so we are moving, paddle
Yeah.
to the masses, leaving the legacy. And then in addition to that, we'll have, one champion, of the PPL season 2, 2024,
Like the league
flashes
champion. Or,
exactly. And we'll be creating the rings, like the
Oh, cool,
NFL
cool,
and
cool,
so
cool.
on. But after that, we last year we put together an incredible concept, which is the All-Star game, right?
Yeah.
Which is part of my thoughts, coming from other major leagues. Some people were asking me like, Marcos, but why you guys do the draft? Why you guys do the All-Star game and this kind
Like
of
the
stuff?
March Madness in the NBA, but for paddle. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Cool.
it's our way, to make people in the US resonate with this new sport because it's kind of similar to things that they are
Yeah.
very familiar with, right? So after the PPL Cup, we'll have one champion, right? And then we'll be, hosting the All-Star game potentially in Orlando. Once again, moving all over the globe, all over the US, and then for that concept, I love that because we are taking some of the best players in each conference playing against each other.
People voting and that's cool.
And something that I like about the All Star is that you have like players from two different teams, and instead of playing against each other, they are playing together. So that is kind of very, very, very entertaining, and I think we all need to do the exercise to explore different ways, to entertain people and to create more engagement.
Yeah.
So,
And when I think like many people are like, oh, but Tolito cannot pay Premier or whatever. Like you've put together Tolito Aguirre and Golf Alfonso from A1 Paddle.
and they are
Cata
playing against each
Tenorio
other.
is having a comeback and she's playing amazing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's making people play in a way that they've never played, but also that like controversial things and all that. Okay, they're playing now on the same court. What's going on? Like you decide, and it's something that could not be done in the different circuits that we have right now.
Exactly.
So
And this is kind of a big reflection. Like I think that part of the things that I'm keeping me busy now is how can we enhance the paddle product all over the world, because at the end of the day, we all, I think this is part of my responsibility, but I'm encouraging everybody involved in the paddle industry to do the same, right?
Yeah.
I think we all need to make an exercise, on how to create more engaging opportunities, how to engage the audience in a different way, and how to become more entertaining, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes, you see these top players, playing, in a court with nobody around. People are not following, tournaments from, let's say,
Mm.
Tuesday to Friday
Yeah.
or whatever. So I think we all need to make an exercise. I'm doing mine,
Mm-hmm.
on how to create more engagement and to get also, talking about globalization is not only creating that engagement, on the audience, but also how can we really grow the pool of players that are becoming professional? Because
Mm-hmm.
if we are moving in the same direction that we are doing now, we'll get just, a few players, making money and getting that exposure, in certain places. When in my mind, it should be kind of the opposite. Like, hey,
Yeah.
there's a way that we can globalize, the marketplace for paddle, and maybe, there are different tournaments being played in Asia, the
Yeah.
US, Europe at a time, and then you just simply move the talent, where the marketplace is needing that. So let's
Yeah.
say that you can bring the best players in the world and just moving them to Asia, for a couple of weeks, because that market is
All
being.
the attention is gonna be there. It's inspiration for them.
But look, by us putting this together, look at this. What we are doing is we are also creating a space. We are not only growing markets, which is kind of my goal, right? But in addition to that, we are also doing an incredible stuff, which is open spaces, for other players to get to the final rounds in different continents at a time. So we are really growing, the pool of
Mm-hmm.
players and
Yeah.
the pool of those that can become professional and making money because they are getting the exposure and so on.
Yeah.
Instead of making it smaller, we
Yeah.
are finally making it global, right? So that's kind of my thought. And I think we all need to make an exercise on that.
That's
So I'm doing
interesting.
mine. As I told you, I keep
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
thinking and thinking every day, but we'll be getting there for sure.
Yes. I have a last question, which is a very, let's say, VC question. And it is, what keeps you up at night?
Um, Becoming a better human being. Believe it or not, that is not connected with paddle. I use paddle, that people thinks that I
But
seem to
are you
marvel
bad?
that. Say it again.
Are you bad?
No,
Ah.
no, but
Very-
becoming a better human being.
I'm kidding.
I wanna
Yeah.
I wanna be
At your maximum.
best version of myself. And once again, this sounds kind of romantic, but I think we all need to make an effort, to be better human beings every day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm using paddle, which is something that I seem to marvel somehow, because people think like, hey, I have, an special inspiration, to move people and to get everybody under my umbrella and to believe in me and to believe in the projects that I'm
Mm-hmm.
putting together. But I'm paying a lot of attention on people,
Okay.
like I really want to connect. I really want to be remembered like the best human being that you could ever met. And
Okay.
paddle is a very good way to do so. Transforming people's life with a paddle racket in my hands is amazing. But don't forget about the first piece, which is making people's life better.
Wow. Super inspiring.
Thank you. This is the
Thank-
way I see life. So
Yeah. Hey, Marcos, thanks for coming. We're gonna finish here because it's been un hand
no,
and the
let's do
vamos,
it.
right? Like
Let's do
the
it like
vamos.
vamos.
That's your signature. I
Yeah,
love
of
it.
course, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rosa, and keep the great job. You
Of
are
course.
doing amazing things. Follow her on social media, follow her on YouTube, and everything that she's putting together, because
you.
she's becoming the reference in the US and also in Europe. And part of our, hope is creating opportunities for people like her. So congrats. Let's do
Thank
it
you.
again. The
Vamos!
Vamos!